Welcome back into the Rowdy Studio. I'm Buzz Cutler and Bassmasters. You know, this is Bryan White, jackman for the Miller Lite Dodge at Penske Racing, but more importantly, an alumnus of the University of Virginia football team. Wahoo Wah, go Cavaliers. You were pretty much the star of that team, right?
That's the way I remember it.
Star water boy.
Every team needs one.
Yeah, you got to have one.
You know, a lot of the over-the-wall guys in NASCAR come from college sports, specifically football. A lot of them former football players. Talk about, first of all, how you transitioned from football to NASCAR.
And what gave you the idea to do that? Like, how'd you end up here?
It was by no means my idea.
This was not part of your grand plan.
The grand plan, crazy enough, my degree is in religion. And so I call that 8 years ago. Now looking to where I am now, religion degree, work on a pit crew. Jackman of Miller Lite car.
Seems somehow related.
Yeah, it's in a very loose way.
Oh, please, God, please don't let me screw up.
There's truth to that. But a crazy transition. The reality of it was that a lot of it was luck. It was a lot of, so I am not from Charlotte. So obviously was up in Virginia, played football up there. I was fortunate enough to do that. When I was a young kid, I actually was here in Charlotte visiting family, met a guy by the name of Trent Cherry. So Trent Cherry is the head pit crew coach of Penske. Not at the time, but is now. So literally met him when I was 10, 11 years old, and call it 10 years later, had played football up at Virginia, was lucky enough to have a shot at the Jets. Too slow, too small, you name it.
Right.
Reality was
Just like us, too slow.
I had a shot with the Jets too, but I'm just too small. And
they wouldn't let you on the plane. Is that?
Yeah. The tough part is when you get to that level, it is. You were either born to be a football player or you were not.
There's just some things you can't overcome.
Yeah,
right?
and that's the truth. Heart gets you so far.
Right.
And you look at the athletes, the Chris Longs of the world. He was born to play football.
Right.
He was not born to be a lawyer or a radio show host or a jackman. And I reached my level, which I was. My whole goal in my career is always to get to a point where I was told I wasn't good enough.
Right.
Which I was okay with. But crazy enough, was sitting in the LaGuardia airport, kind of wondering where I was going to go with things.
Right after you got cut by the Jets.
Literally right after I got cut. And got a call from Trent Cherry and said, listen, he offered me, he said, please come down to Charlotte. Want to see if I had any interest in being on a pit crew with Penske Racing. In a lot of ways, the time commitment during the week is very minimal. Practices in the late afternoon, evenings, 2 to 3 days a week. I don't have a lot of knowledge on a car. My career was not in working on a car. So, but took him up on the offer, came down on a whim, literally changed my flight, and slept on a couple couches for a couple weeks. And he taught me over a time frame of 4 to 6 months how to pit a car and how to be a jackman. And within that time period, started going over the wall with Nationwide, going over the wall on a truck series races, and really kind of got my bumps and bruises at the lower levels. And literally that next full season, I think it was 2007, went over the wall with Penske Racing with the number 12 Altel Dodge.
So was it something about you physically as a football player that said to Trent Jackman specifically as opposed to tire carrier or whatever?
Other than being dumb enough to jump in front of cars. No, I think it's, if you look at it.
Like, what are the skills? Is it foot speed? I mean, is it?
I think like a lot of sports, if you look at a body type, you can pretty much tell what works best. So, positions on a pit crew, or you have the gas man, the tire changers, the tire carriers, and a jackman.
Right.
Tire carrier or tire changers tend to be the smaller ones. They're on their knees hitting nuts. A lot of those guys actually come from baseball. It's that hand-eye coordination.
So it's hand-eye, being able to get low, being real quick to the ground,
shortstop,
that kind of thing.
Second base.
I gotcha.
Interesting.
And then you look at the tire carriers. Trent Cherry's actually a tire carrier on the rear of our car. He was a quarterback. So has size to him, but doesn't have a ton of size to him. So has the building strength to carry a tire, hang a tire, but might not have the same strength to jack a car.
I see.
And so then for the jack guys, typically football, tight end, linebacker, has the strength, to jack the car, but also has the ability and the quickness to get around the car.
And you guys actually call plays. I mean, this is an athletic endeavor for you guys. I mean, you've got different plays, different scenarios, and you're calling them on the fly.
We are. It's dependent on a lot of things, but mostly how far along into a run. So if the fuel or the tires are only going to last 30 laps and a caution comes out at lap 12, well, you might only need 1 can of gas versus 2 cans of gas. So those triggers or those, the issues or problems that you might have, tightness, looseness, those are all going to kind of be the decision points on what kind of a pit stop you call.
Gotcha.
And so now, as far as you've been with this team now 6 years, you were telling us?
Yeah, right. First year was 2006.
And for a jackman, are you now one of the veteran jackmen, or are there a bunch of guys who've been doing it 20 years? And
it is amazing how young the sport has gotten on pit road. There are guys that are 20. There's guys that are going to UNC Charlotte and pitting a car.
So they're actually college students currently.
Yeah.
So you're an old dude.
I'm old. It's 29, 30 years old. I am old.
No, that makes us ancient.
Are there still guys who work in the shop during the week and go over the wall on the weekend?
There are. It really depends on the organization. Penske has put a lot of focus into finding ex-athletes. And with the knowledge that these guys probably aren't going to work on the car, but that we need them to pit the car. So some of those guys might work on the marketing side, PR side, but there's some guys that are truly contract guys. To where, for myself, I don't work in the shop, so I'm a contract guy that literally you'll practice 2 to 3 times a week, wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, and fly out to the race.
So you're not even there during the weekend, and you're there for race day, baby. That's your thing. Now, do you ever do the nationwide race or anything like that?
I do not. I'm too old.
That's for the young guys.
One race a weekend.
I will admit that I am too sore and too tired, and my focus is NASCAR. So I'm there for Sunday.
Gotcha.
Very cool. Well, listen, we want to talk to you about the anatomy of a pit stop. Get a little more insight to Jack in the car, but we'll do that next time right here from the Rowdy Studios.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.